Today I want to talk about Dan Mullen, Florida, its 1-year probation, and his show cause penalty. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, around 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Tuesday, Dan Mullen and the University of Florida were hit with penalties stemming from an NCAA investigation where they had impermissible contact with recruits and the like. So I'm going to go through first what they did, then what the penalties are, and then talk about the severity of those things. So this is the lead in the press release from the NCAA. The Florida football program violated NCAA recruiting contact rules on 2 occasions, and the head football coach did not promote an atmosphere of compliance, according to an agreement released by the Division I Committee on Infractions. So agreement meaning that they worked in concert with Florida to get to this. And when we talk about this with Scott Strickland, I say talk about this, he puts out a press release saying, look, we did everything that we were supposed to do to get along with this. Even saying, look, Dan Mullen had impermissible contact with a recruit for like less than 15 minutes, but that's still longer than you're supposed to be able to do that. And they had a 7-on-7 group come through there on an unofficial visit where they had impermissible contact with coaches, and that's where these violations stem. So let's go through what the NCAA and Florida agreed to as their penalty. 1-year probation, a $5,000 fine, reduced fall 2019 evaluations from 42 to 21, reduced fall football evaluations by 12 for the 2018-2019 academic year, restrictions on all recruiting telephone calls with football prospects from April 15th through May 31st, a reduction in the number of football official visits during the 2019-20 academic year by 1, and in the number of unofficial visits from the 2019-20 academic year by 14, a 1-year show cause order for the head football coach. During that period, the head coach is prohibited from off-campus recruiting activity during the fall 2020 evaluation period and 4-day off-campus recruiting ban during the fall 21 contact period. The university banned the head coach from recruiting for the first 10 days of January 2020 contact period, a 30-day off-campus recruiting ban for the head coach during the fall 2019 evaluation period. The university ended the recruitment of at least one prospect, right? The university will not recruit any prospects from the high school in Seattle 2019-20 through the 2020-21 academic years, a 7-day off-campus recruiting ban for the entire football coaching staff during the spring 21 off-campus recruiting period, a 30-day off-campus recruiting ban for the assistant coach in October 2019, and a 3-day off-campus recruiting ban for the January 2020 contact period. One-on-one rules education for both the head coach and assistant in regard to NCAA contact and evaluation rules. All right, so that's a lot of post-dated information, right? We all know what that means. They have served the penalties, and during the pandemic, is it such a penalty when we've had a dead period that is extending over a year by the time we think it's going to end in April? What did Dan Mullen actually lose? What did Florida actually lose? Well, one prospect from the Seattle region, and I'm sure that there are those of you that are Florida fans that know who exactly that is, but I'm not going to bring it up right now. I did want to educate folks on the show cause, though, because show cause is more like a scarlet letter than it is effectual, right? So many people think that when a coach gets a show cause penalty of 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, that he must be fired by the school that employs him. That's not so. Sometimes schools choose to do that anyway. But take, for instance, Bruce Pearl, who was Auburn head coach under a show cause. Dan Mullen will be Florida head coach under a show cause. What that means is the university will have to meet before a committee, probably the NCAA's infraction committee, to demonstrate how Mullen has been compliant with the NCAA rules as they are written and what other penalties that they have levied to them over the next, 6-month periods. So if it was 5-year show cause for him, it would be 10 meetings where the university would have to demonstrate that Dan Mullen is staying in line. I'm not certain that this is going to have any sort of real impact because Florida's recruiting class is still very good. They still have a very full boat. They're going to be good in the future. And we even talked about whether or not the Cotton Bowl gets played because Dan Mullen made it clear he's allowing his kids to go home for Christmas and then come back and perhaps play December 30th against Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. But he's going to be without Kyle Pitts for sure. We'll see if he's without Kadarius Toney. I think it's likely because I think he's going to enter his name for the NFL draft. So you're already going to be without two of your best playmakers, and that's before we start to talk about Kyle Trask. Oklahoma's going to be without TJ Pledger and Tanner Mordecai, but in the scheme of things right now, that's huge. Keeping Ramondre Stevenson for that game, Ronnie Perkins for that game, keeping those guys for the 21 season, we'll see. But right now, I thought that this was news that we needed to talk about, we needed to discuss. Florida fans are right not to worry about this in as far as how their team is going to perform on the field in the future. You don't have to worry about Dan Mullen being fired. I think Scott Strickland is right on when he says, look, we're doing everything we can and we've done everything that we're supposed to do in regard to the NCAA. And the way that we've started to think about recruiting and the way that we've started to think about show cause also shows the evolution of how folks think about the game, which is getting more professional, right? We don't think of the show cause order anymore with the sort of severity that we once did. A lot of that, I think, is education. A lot of that, I think, is athletic directors saying, you know what? If I don't have to fire that guy, I'm not going to fire that guy because that dude makes us a lot of money as the head football coach. I also think that when we talk about these kids and we talk about recruiting, sometimes this stuff gets overblown and overwrought because a group of 7-on-7 players visiting the University of Florida is probably a really cool gift, right? Being able to meet coaches at that campus is probably a really cool gift. Coaches aren't supposed to do it. It's against the rules. There should be there should be consequences for those violations of the rules. But in as far as I think about it, in consuming and writing about and commentating on the sport of college football, not that big a deal. We have way bigger fish to fry. And I think that the NCAA in Florida came up with an agreement that everybody should be okay with and has put together penalties that at one point or another probably looked pretty good. And then the pandemic happened. So what evaluation period, right? What contact period? Everything was by phone. So that stretch where they could not contact recruits by phone, that was probably a big deal, right? But then it was over. And then the kids could contact you by phone, like it's a dead period. Anyway, I hope this was helpful to you. I hope that you better understand what's at play here for the University of Florida and college football and the NCAA and how we have continued to do the shamateurism, stupidly. Can't wait for name, image, and likeness to come along. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.